Welcome to Wall with Sandwire. Today we're talking about Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's strategy for Perikatan Nasional in the 17th Sabah state election. And this isn't just a typical campaign talk. We're looking at a very specific political plan here. What we want to do today is really analyze the calculus that the chairman of Perikatan Nasional laid out for the Sabah polls. He gave actual numbers, specific strategies, particularly on how they plan to, well, neutralize potential friction points. We're zeroing in on how they expect to win a majority.
Yeah, it's quite something. The fight for Sabah state government is always, complex.
Yeah.
Local issues, unique demographics, it's all in the mix. But Muhyiddin's recent press conference, the one in Penang, it gave us some really concrete figures, didn't it? And frankly, very direct stance on the whole Party Islam see Malaysia factor.
Definitely. It gives us a real window into their thinking.
It really does. Shows their operational plan and maybe their confidence level, too.
Okay, let's start with the numbers then, because they seem pretty central to this. Muhyiddin confirmed Perikatan Nasional, PN, is going for a very specific target. 41 seats. That's 41 out of the total 73 state assembly seats. He mentioned 40 candidates announced, one pending, but the target is fixed at 41.
41. That's the magic number, apparently. Mathematically, yes, it's just enough for a simple majority to form the state government. And this is where he used that specific word, pragmatic. He called it the pragmatic strategy.
Right, pragmatic.
Which is, well, interesting, isn't it? It's not the usual approach we see sometimes where coalitions try to contest almost everywhere to show strength.
So why just 41? What's the thinking there?
He's basically saying, look, this number is sufficient. Contesting only 41 shows they're being targeted, not just casting a wide net. It suggests, I think, two things. First, efficiency. Resources aren't unlimited, right? Spreading thin across 73 seats, especially in known opposition areas, might just be wasteful. And second, it's probably an acknowledgement of, well, reality. They likely know the PN coalition brand might not resonate everywhere in Sabah. So why waste political capital fighting uphill battles? They're aiming for that sweet spot, the bare minimum needed for a majority.
But isn't that a risk? Focusing only on 41, doesn't it kind of signal weakness in the other 32 constituencies? If you want to govern the whole state, shouldn't you aim, I don't know, a bit higher?
That's the gamble, absolutely. It's a high-stakes bet. They're essentially saying their groundwork, their polling, tells them these 41 are winnable with the PN brand, no matter the local factors.
But they must be very confident in that data.
Immensely confident, because if that data is off, even by a few seats, say they lose 5 or 6 of those targeting 41, then the whole strategy kind of falls apart. There's no buffer, having essentially conceded the other 32 seats from the start. It shows huge confidence in sweeping those specific zones.
Okay, speaking of confidence, let's shift to that other big piece. The one that always comes up in Sabah, the cultural diversity aspect. Muhyiddin directly tackled, well, the elephant in the room, potential anti-party Islam see Malaysia sentiment.
Yes, the PAS factor.
Exactly. And he was very firm. He basically dismissed it, saying confidently it will not affect Perikatan Nasional's performance. Full stop.
That's probably the boldest claim in the whole announcement, wouldn't you say? Sabah's electorate is incredibly diverse, multi-religious, and often very loyal to local parties or sentiment. And historically, yes, there have always been concerns in some communities about parties seen as pushing conservative religious agendas from the peninsula. So for Muhyiddin to just flatly say it won't be an issue, that's a massive political gamble. He must think their counter-strategy is, well, bulletproof.
So what is that counter strategy? How are they planning to mitigate it?
Well, according to him, it boils down to branding, image unification. Really emphasize that all candidates, and this includes those from parties Islam See Malaysia or PAS, all of them will contest under the single, unified Perikatan Nasional logo, not their own party logos.
Okay, so the idea is voters see PN on the ballot, not PAS.
Exactly. It's an attempt to shield the individual component parties from direct voter scrutiny, make the coalition brand the main identity. It's a tactic they've used before in peninsular Malaysia, sometimes successfully.
In state elections there.
Right. The unified banner helped overcome some local resistance to certain parties. But the big question is, will the PN logo have that same kind of neutralizing power in Sabah? Voters there often really prioritize local connections over peninsular coalitions.
Good point. Let's dig into that mitigation a bit more, specifically about PAS. If Muhyiddin says the anti-PAS feeling isn't a factor, how does the actual seat allocation to PAS fit into that confidence?
Well, the allocation itself seems designed to reinforce that message, or at least manage the perception. He made a point of highlighting the low number of seats given to PAS. He specifically said PAS is contesting only 5 seats. That number, 5, it's almost certainly not random. It's strategic political optics.
How so?
Well, when you have a potentially sensitive component party in a coalition, you have to balance things, right? You need to give them enough seats to keep them invested in the alliance, but not so many that you risk alienating key voter segments you need for the overall win.
So 5 seats is that balance point.
It seems to be their calculation. Those 5 seats are probably very carefully chosen, maybe constituencies where the demographics are seen as more favorable, or where PAS's presence is thought least likely to cause wider problems for the PN campaign.
And the way Muhyiddin framed it was interesting, too. He didn't say we had to limit them to 5 because of sensitivities.
No, not at all.
Instead, he presented it almost as a sign of PAS's own political maturity. He said the allocation shows that PAS knows how to position themselves within Sabah's diverse context.
Precisely. It reframes a potential negative, the presence of PAS, into a positive sign of, coalition sophistication, sensitivity, turning a liability into an asset, rhetorically speaking.
But does that resonate on the ground in Sabah? Is it seen as genuine teamwork or more like compliance driven by the pragmatic need to win those 41 seats?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? From Muhyiddin's viewpoint, it's all about unity, teamwork. He kept stressing that, telling Sabah hands essentially, don't worry about any single party, we operate as a team.
The PN team.
Right. The implication being, if they win the 41 seats, the government policy will be Perikatan Nasional policy, not driven by any one component, especially not one with only 5 seats.
Okay.
So if you tie it all together, the whole strategy seems to rest on those 2 main pillars. First, that really focused surgical targeting of just 41 seats to hit the majority number efficiently.
The pragmatic math.
Exactly. And second, relying heavily on that unified PN brand, the logo, to act as a shield, to ensure that the small role of component parties, specifically PAS with its 5 seats, doesn't become a major stumbling block in Sabah's unique political landscape. It's about negating friction and maximizing efficiency.
So, summing up Muhyiddin's core message, Perikatan Nasional is confident because they have a very precise, numbers-driven seat strategy aimed only at the majority line. And they believe their unified branding is strong enough to overcome potential internal issues, like the anti-party Islam see Malaysia sentiment. Their betting efficiency and image management can win the day over local complexities.
And that really leaves the big question for everyone watching, and for you, the listener. Does this strategy, this calculated risk of aiming only for 41 seats, combined with the reliance on the PN logo, does it genuinely insulate them from those deep-seated cultural and political dynamics in a state as diverse as Sabah? Can branding overcome local resistance to specific coalition members? The outcome could really set a precedent for future state elections. What do you think?
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.